Welcome back to Footballology. So up next we have the Seahawks up for their offseason grade. Now when it came to the Seahawks in 2020, they were probably one of the most exciting teams to watch offensively, honestly, with guys like DK Metcalf consistently making plays week in and week out, unless he was playing the Rams and Jalen Ramsey. But that's a different story for a different day. Tyler Lockett making plays week in and week out as well. The run game was definitely spotty at times. I think that was just due to injury. They had a lot of injuries on this roster, just didn't allow things to really click for them in the run game. And that was one thing that we knew about Seattle, especially on the offense side of the ball. They were able to be a little bit more balanced, or at least have a more potent run attack. And they didn't have that in the 2020 season, at least not up to the standards that we've become accustomed to for the Seahawks. And then when we flip it to the defense side of the ball, getting Jamal Adams was definitely a big blockbuster trade if they needed. Getting him in the secondary boosted the secondary morale, but also the playmaking in the secondary as well. But when it came to the front of the Seattle Seahawks, it was just underwhelming. It was something that we were just not accustomed to seeing. Once again, we know what the Seattle front can do and what it should look like, and it just wasn't playing up to that standard, up to that par. So hopefully in 2021 they can actually fix that defensively, and they can turn into that team again, once again on the defense side of the ball. So now when we take a look at the Seahawks free agency period, getting a guy like Akil Witherspoon, trying to bring him in the secondary because they're definitely voided in the secondary, losing Griffin to free agency. And then we move on. We got Jared Everett, a tight end. He's a more of a receiving threat tight end, and I know that's something that they seriously and wholeheartedly wanted because they want to spread this ball out offensively, and that was something that makes sense to me. Bringing Chris Carson back on 2-year deal makes sense as well because I think Chris Carson is there to stay, and I'm wondering if Rashad Penny becomes the expendable running back because they didn't pick up his 5th-year option, so it does make sense if they wind up wanting to expend him. And then scrolling down a little bit more, getting Carlos Dunlap. I want to say they retained Carlos Dunlap because I think his contract was up at the end of the year, and retaining him, and hopefully he brings that more of that elite pass rush up front. Carlos Dunlap still has at least a good, probably 2 to 3 years left in him, so hopefully he becomes that good pass rusher. I like Al Woods at the defensive tackle position. Dude's just a run stopping, hole clogging kind of guy, and that's exactly what they need, especially in the defensive front that the Seahawks like to run. Scrolling down. Now, Demarius Randall, this pick or this signing actually makes a lot of sense to me, and it's really interesting to me as well. Now, we've seen Demarius Randall in several different roles. We've seen him play a little bit of corner, and we've seen him play a little bit of safety. Now, I think his level of flexibility is going to give them that safety that they're missing, and that secondary that's going to give them the opportunity to be a little bit more rangy or a little bit more flexibility in the secondary. So I'm really interested how they're going to use him in that secondary because Demarius Randall definitely has that level of flexibility to his game. I don't think he's an elite or a good corner. I don't want to say elite, but at least a good corner. But I think he's a guy that you can put out there and say, okay, I know you can probably cover this tight end, but we're going to probably play you more at the safety position than we are at the cornerback position. But if we run a little bit of man, he's going to give them that level of flexibility from that position. Alden Smith, oh my God, if this man can stay out of trouble just for like a year and a half to stay out of trouble, Alden. But bring in Alden Smith if he stays healthy, if he stays out of trouble, most importantly, he can definitely add that pass rush. And Alden Smith definitely helped his career out a little bit when he was with Dallas. People really thought were getting the old Alden Smith back when he was with the Niners because this man has proven that he can be an elite pass rusher, and that's something that the Seahawks need badly. Pierre Desir, big corner. He's actually it's crazy because he is the Seattle typical corner, not the athletic freak, not the blazer or anything, but just a long corner that knows how to play his guy up front. And Seattle likes to play that zone, so it's really going to be beneficial for Pierre Desir. Geno Smith, backup quarterback. Robert Kundiche, like I remember this guy coming out of Ole Miss and everybody's excited about him. So I'm hoping that this is an opportunity for him to revive his career and get himself back into the mix because I still feel like he was a decent guy coming out of Ole Miss. Like he was a decent defensive lineman. I think he was all a bit worth of the first round pick. So I'm wondering, hopefully, he gets an opportunity to revive his career with the Seahawks, especially with that front and the way they like to play. Once again, I think that's a really good move by them. And then I think we're going to stop there. Cam Sutton at tight end, just bringing in more depth. So, I mean, from a free agency standpoint, they got a lot of 1-year guys, and we talked about this in past videos. Now, Seahawks have an established roster for the most part in a lot of positions in a lot of places. But the thing I like I said, I trust John Snyder, and the thing that I like that they did, they got in some guys that probably can fill voids for now because they lost a lot of draft capital in the Jamal trade. And so you get guys that come in, fill voids, and if you like them, retain them for a couple of years. But these contracts aren't heavy on the books, and they're not going to weight the books down. So because you paid your quarterback a lot of money, you got to pay DK Metcalf a lot of money, especially if he keeps trending in the right direction. And then you got to pay, Bobby Wagner. And I think that there's some nucleus of guys that they know that they don't want to lose to free agency like they've done in the past when they lost a couple of guys to free agency or just didn't resign guys or trade them, whatever the case may be. So I think they got the nucleus of guys that they definitely are going to focus on trying to sign. And so these contracts, yeah, they're 1 year contracts or whatever, but they're not heavy on the books, and that's what's most important. Taking a look at the Seahawks draft class, starting out with Dwayne Eskridge. This guy, if I remember correctly, had a big time 40 at the Western Michigan Pro Day, and he was one of those guys that everybody was just kind of excited about and pumped up about, one of those three receivers. And I think a lot of people across the league have gotten excited about what Tyreek Hill has done for the Chiefs, and really trying to find their slice of the pie and try to get themselves a big play threat like Tyreek Hill. Now it's crazy because when you're thinking about Seattle, I didn't feel like they need to go receiver here, so I can't really get behind this pick. And it being a smaller, shiftier receiver, I really can't get behind it. Like I'm not 100% on board with it at all. I trust in John Snyder and everything that he does, but I just can't get on board with this. So that, and then only having three picks too, so it's like that. Then yeah, it just doesn't sit right with me at all. Now Stone Forsythe, the sixth round tackle. Now I did some research on him about a week ago when I was doing all my video research and just trying to get kind of updated on some of the players that got drafted. This man is huge. First and foremost, seeing his height, he was 6'8". I think he was like 307, 305, somewhere around there. But he moved so well. Now the thing is with tackles, you want them to be kind of on the bigger side because you want them to have that wingspan, and he clearly has that wingspan. So he can fend off those pass rushers and those guys that are trying to get to his quarterback. Now I'm not saying he's going to start right away, but I'm really interested. Now he's one of those guys that are going to be on my preseason watch list because if he comes out and he plays really well, and Seattle has been struggling at the left tackle position. Also, Seattle wants to throw the ball a lot, so this is going to be a really good pick, the Stone pick. And I think that after doing research and looking at over the course of these three picks that the Seattle Seahawks had, I was looking like, okay, Stone probably is going to be wind up being your best pick out of this whole deal, especially if he winds up starting at the left tackle position. Now, I'm not sure if he's going to start left tackle, if he's going to start right tackle, where he's going to start, if he starts at all. But it's going to be really interesting if he winds up being an offensive lineman starter for them because I think he can do it, and it's going to something that's going to benefit them really well, especially in the sixth round. And that's why I trust John Snyder because he does so well with getting the other guys or the late round guys. After taking everything into consideration, I feel like the Seahawks deserve to see. You look at guys like Chris Carson, retaining him is most important. Bringing in Alden Smith, hopefully he stays out of trouble and they can actually get him for the season. Looking at guys like Carlos Dunlap, getting a position flexibility guy in Demarius Randall, and Jared Everett, even at the tight end position, is going to play a big role because of how much they want to throw the ball. Now, where the C really falls is what they did in the draft. I feel like out of the three picks they had, they probably got one starter possibly. And if it winds up being an offense lineman in Stone, then that's all great. I feel like a C turns into a B instantaneously, in my opinion, because you fortified your offensive line. But I just didn't feel like they did enough, especially for John Snyder. And it was really odd for me to see a John Snyder draft be so limited because I felt like that's one thing that he's done well over the course of his career in Seattle is draft extremely well, getting those other guys. Now, there's probably some undrafted guys out there, so if you're a Seahawks fan and you know about some undrafted guys that are showing up in camp or something like that, definitely let me know in the comment section below so I can go check them out and kind of put my word into it. Like, I would like to see, I'd like to know because I know John Snyder's good at doing that as well. But like I said, this team has a lot of established pieces in place. Did they get a little bit? They got a little bit better, very little over the course of the offseason. I don't know if it's enough to help out in the West because the West is going to be coming for their throat this year after winning it. But I think that having Russell Wilson in place, your starting quarterback, having DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, yeah, Eshridge looks good now because you add him to a really potent receiving core already. Stone, you know what I mean? You add him there, but the defense side of the ball definitely has a lot of question marks for me still, and that's where I kind of start to kind of fumble with that C minus D right there because it just didn't feel like they did enough to help the team out. Yeah, offensively and their quarterback looks better on paper, but I'm not sure if they did enough. But if you're a Seahawks fan, let me know what you think in the comment section below. If there's a transaction that I didn't give enough credit to and you feel like it has a bigger impact over the season or could have a bigger impact on the season, let me know what you think in the comment section below. And if you're not a footballologist, I don't know what you're waiting on. Go on and hit that subscribe button today, become a footballologist, and stay safe, football fans.